I believe that everyone is creative and that our creativity is medicine, and not just for ourselves. It's our hope and our connection for a better world for all of us. I'm Ashley Riley, and this is Made of Dreams. Welcome to Made of Dreams. I'm your host, Ashley Riley, and I'm so glad you're here. Today's episode is a bit of a slow burn, kind of like a think piece and a bit of a wandering spirit. And I just wanted to say that right up top because I recently took a weekend tarot workshop kind of on a whim because, like I mentioned in the season 2 opener, I'm really finding tarot to be a wonderful tool for the way that I think and analyze. I think it's because I love to analyze, and the cards kind of conceptualize the process, and the images add another layer. And I find it fascinating how often the cards validate a feeling that I have about something, which I would kind of question if they didn't also jolt me sometimes. I would think like, am I making this mean what I want it to mean? But I know that I'm not because of the times that I pull a card and I'm like, oof. Well, not really oof, but it's like the card that was pulled makes you think or gives you a perspective that you know, but would rather ignore, if that makes sense. So that's where we're headed today. But first, it's time for Weekly Obsession, where I share what's lighting me up because sharing is caring and I care about you. So this week, I'm loving nail art. So my niece, who is about to be 16, is really into nail art and always has the cutest designs that she does herself. And so recently we were hanging out and I asked her if she would paint my nails, and she did the cutest designs. I had actually been saving some ideas on Pinterest, so I had some little flowers and roosters. Yep, you heard that right. I had her paint 3 roosters on my nails, and it turned out so good. I actually never paint my nails anymore, and I forgot how happy it makes me for them to not only look nice, but have little works of art on every finger. So really fun, and I highly recommend. But if that's not your bag, I have another suggestion because this is something else that I put off doing every year, and once I finally get my shit together and do it, it makes me so happy every time I see it, and that is planting flowers. I don't have a green thumb, and sometimes I feel that digging in the dirt actually makes me itchy and scratchy and also bugs. So I don't really do much in terms of gardening, even though I do have grand illusions of one day having tomato plants and maybe a watermelon and, all kinds of things. But having flowers in the spring of summer makes me so happy. This year, I went to the local farmer's market and I just bought petunias and geraniums because they're very easy for me to keep alive. And they have just exploded and I freaking love it. So find yourself a simple pleasure that just gives you some joy, like maybe it's even a vase of flowers that you buy at the store, or paint your nails. For me, it's working wonders, and that is this week's Weekly Obsession. So back to the workshop. I'm in this phase where I'm just wanting to learn all I can and know what all the cards mean back and forth, but I know enough to know that's not really the way to go. Tarot is kind of like the bottomless soup at the Olive Garden. Like the meanings are there and you can learn them to a T, but the wisdom that's needed is really dependent upon the perspective of the person asking the question and the way they interpret it. I kind of signed up for this class thinking we'd talk about different meanings and spreads, and I'd get to keep my camera off. And I very quickly realized that this was actually going to be a way more philosophical discussion, and we were going to be sharing our thoughts on all of this stuff. And the question was posed, like, who decided the meaning of tarot? And how was it decided? And how does it still relate today? And how is it different for our modern day? And as the discussion rolled on, I found myself really relating to this in terms of a creator. At first, I was like, oh, I think I'm in over my head. I don't read these philosophical books and I don't have years of research under my belt. But as I listened, I started to realize that the questions that were being posed and the way that other people were relating to them almost felt intuitive to me. We were discussing people in the 1800s and how these scholars wanted to find a way to remove bias in the interpretation of text so that everyone could understand it the same way. And they were wondering if there was a scientific way to make it so that, like, this is the meaning and that's it. No questions asked. And my brain was like, that's a terrible idea. But I could see where maybe people who are very by the book might like to know, okay, this poem is sad and I'm supposed to feel this way, because the scholars in question were talking about a poem. So as I was saying, I intuitively felt like, no, we don't all have to understand art the same way. Like, why is the Mona Lisa so intriguing, you know? It got me to thinking about when we write a song, for example, we know exactly what it's about. And the beauty of that is that sometimes other people feel that exact same way. We can put it out into the world and someone somewhere feels a little less alone. And like, how amazing is that? Personally, I like to tell what a song is about generally. Maybe I'll even explain what was happening that prompted me to write it, but I do kind of keep some secrets to myself if it's a pretty personal song. It's interesting when you write as the artist because the more personal you are, sometimes the more people can connect because they can imagine themselves in that exact same situation that you have had and maybe have those exact same feelings. But when you're writing in terms of like wanting to pitch it to someone else or something else, like film or TV, they will tell you like, you got to think broad, you got to be more general because this piece of art or this song has to fit into a scene where they're acting out something. And if you're too descriptive, it's likely that it won't work because you're describing something else. There are always exceptions to the rule or songs that are written like specifically for something and art that is created for something. But once again, that's kind of an exception. So anyway, as I was listening to people really trying to understand this concept of who makes the meaning, and really, like I said, my gut instinct was like, of course, the person listening or watching, like we're making our own meaning. Wouldn't it be strange as an artist if when I wrote a song or released something into the world, if I was like, this is the only thing it means? Like, wouldn't it be strange if I got mad if my song made someone feel a different way than how it made me feel or how I wanted them to feel? Like, I guess if it was the complete opposite or a stance that you disagree with, but overall, it just seemed obvious to me. And it made me realize the reason I wanted to do this show really was because I do see how being an artist has changed me and opened me up to different ideas and perspectives other than my own. When you stand on a stage and sing your feelings and then talk to people about it, like you're really putting your heart out there and you're inviting others into that. And to do that too as an audience member, I find that so special. I see the value in that and what it means to me. But as I'm saying exactly that, that's what it means to me. To someone else, music isn't it. Like that's maybe not the way they want to connect. Like I went to this art gallery with a friend and we did a guided tour of the art. And it was really interesting to learn about the artists and where they were coming from and what was going on in the times that they painted these pieces. And then the guide who made it really interesting and was so knowledgeable, she would say, like, what do you notice about this painting? What sticks out to you? And it was so interesting to hear from the group what people saw. There were times when I could tell that she was looking for a certain thing, but even if someone pointed out something that she wasn't specifically looking for, she was really good at weaving that into the discussion. And it's interesting because I'm not sure why, but it really surprises me when someone isn't able to see another point of view because I'm usually bending over backwards to see all the points of view. And I've gotten better over the years, but part of this is like a performer thing and like blending a little bit depending on the group you're performing for. It's funny because I also have a background as a hairstylist for 20 years. And I remember very early on going to a continuing education class where the platform artist was saying, like, stylists are performers, like, we're chameleons. One client will come in and they're like, oh, it's terrible outside. And you're like, ugh, I know, tell me about it. And you totally agree with everything that they say. And then, like, an hour later, your next guest comes in and it's like, I love this weather. It's so warm and we so needed the rain. And you're like, I know, thank goodness. And it was almost like a comedy act, the way that he was kind of roasting us. And also, really kind of pointing out, like, we are people pleasers for a living, but also we see all the perspectives. And I think about that a lot because I've had to get really good at boundaries over the years. And because of that, a lot of artists are that way too, in the way that we're driven to understand and create and connect and blur those lines a little bit. And all that to say, I think that's why I find tarot so fascinating. There are endless perspectives, but there are also boundaries, for a lack of a better word. But being able to listen to this really heady conversation and kind of feel like I was able to cut to the heart of it without all the pontificating has really come from all the songs I've written, all the shows I've played, and all the people that I've met that I never would have met if it wasn't for the places that music has taken me. That's a big reason why I believe that art is self-development work that really changes how you view the world and the depth and emotions that you're able to process and understand, and how you can kind of perceive how others are doing because of it as well. It's the leaving the room for the listeners or the viewers in the art that is so captivating, because it stirs something in others that then invites them to do the same. It's saying, like, I'll go first. You could argue that you should have a really strong point of view and that it's black and white. And I honestly was going to try and make a case for that, but I feel like that's just a control thing. I want to clarify. I'm not saying create for other people. I think artistic point of view is so important, and that specificity is what creates that deep connection to the art. But what I'm saying is, once we put it out there, it's for the people and how it makes them feel and what they can see in it and how it connects us. So I'm pulling cards on the energy of how art connects us with others. And instead of my usual heart, ache, and pulse, I'm pulling a card for the energy of the artist, the energy of the audience, and the relationship between the two. So here's the vibe check. For the artist, I pulled the Page of Swords. For the audience, I pulled the Knight of Cups. And the energy between the two is the Nine of Pentacles. So here we go. The artist as the Page of Swords. This is interesting to me. I kind of expected to see a card from the Cups suit or the Magician or something, but I love how the cards tell their own story. The Page of Swords is sometimes called the Truth Seeker or the Call of Curiosity. And maybe this is the heart of the artist. Curiosity is such a beckoning. I think of curiosity and being curious as like a siren song. You really can't help it. You're just drawn to it. I love this for the artist. It's the Suit of Swords, which is the air element, and air signs like Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Intellectual and fresh thinking. Swords are sharp. And the pages of the tarot are the messengers and the ones who initiate. The figure on the traditional card seems to be young and energetic with windblown hair, that of an adventurer. The stance is one way and the head is turned the other, representing that alert, curious mind. I also love that the page is more of a seeker and not a master, because I think that's really important, to always remain open to learning and new ways of doing. That's how masters operate. Even if they're masters in one area, they often start to follow a new curiosity and learn and incorporate and fuse it into their work. So this card is actually exciting to me in a way that it isn't some polished, unattainable high ideal. It's literally the storyteller, the observer, the student who will remain curious and shares what they're learning. The audience showing up as the Knight of Cups is also interesting. I think I say that about every card. The cups are the water element in tarot, which represent our emotions. And in this instance, it shows that connection and that feeling. The Knight of Cups is pursuing what moves him. The card shows a knight on a white horse holding a cup, and it almost seems leisurely. He's dreamy, he's open, he's following his heart. The knight is not charging. He seems to just be enjoying. So this card is connection and warmth and presence. It shows that the audience is moved by their connection and that they're also seeking. They want to feel something. And this feels pretty aligned with the energy of an audience. I love that this isn't like a Pentacles card or something that's just transactional, like just as a consumer. It shows that audiences and fans are invested in what artists are doing. I identify as an artist, but I'm also a super fan for the people that I'm into. Sometimes it makes me feel a bit nerdy, but as an artist, sometimes it can be easy to fall into this trap of thinking that what we create doesn't matter. I think every generation has their challenges, but this internet age is a doozy. We've got so much reach and access and ways to stay connected, but that part of it can take over if we're not careful, and we're seeing so much more as well in terms of other artists, which once again is amazing, but can feed into what's the point if we consume too much, you know? So seeing the Knight of Cups here is a reminder that the audience wants what you're putting out there. Some people portray this card as fickle, that the Knight of Cups is like a dreamboat who is kind of the ideal, but like he says that to all the girls. He's emotionally open, but he's up on a high horse, following his heart and chasing that next feeling. He doesn't get off the horse. So in a love life reading or something like that, that might be something to watch out for. But in this context, I just really see it as true and not in a bad way. There's no rule of like, you can only like this much music or you can only see this much art. It actually reminds me of something that happened when I was in my late 20s, early 30s. I was really just starting out down the path of a musician, and I used to host open mics in my town every Wednesday. And there was this older guy who would show up sometimes, and he loved the music. And me and a friend of mine sang together sometimes, and we both did our own thing too. But everyone loved it when we sang harmony. And I will never forget this guy being like, I can't decide which one of you I like more. And I think he even said something like, your voice is so good and like you're better, but she's hotter. And it was like pretty fucked up. But sometimes it do be that way. And in a lot of ways that rings true for the vibe check of an audience. Really, it's all subjective in the end. Like somebody else probably thought she was better and I was hotter. Who knows? Like one day I'll do an episode on the energetics of comparison and see what comes up. That'd be fun. Anyway, this guy was kind of drunk, but he loved music. And I remember like yelling back to him from the stage, like, you don't have to choose, man. You can be a fan of both of us. And him kind of being like, huh? Like I threw him with that one. So I always say that though, like you don't have to choose. You can be a fan of multiple things. Like the Knight of Cups is that dreamy dreamboat who is committed to the passion when he's feeling it and also open and following his heart. And maybe just a thought to artists, like know that that kind of connection is out there and keep doing your art. And the people that connect with it are out there. But the danger, that could be the danger of changing and creating for the audience that will just move on to the next one, as they should sometimes. I used to say, like, You can't play every show. Like, you can't headline at all the venues on the same night. Just how fans can like more than one artist. Like, we artists have to also know that there's room for all of us. So I kind of went in a few directions with that one for one card, but that was a bit of a tall order. And now I'm going to check the relationship status. So for the energy between the two, I pulled the Nine of Pentacles, which is pretty sweet. This is an abundance card, and not just money, but like fulfillment and satisfaction. It shows that effort has been rewarded and that the rewards are earned, which makes it all the more worth it. Pentacles are the earth element suit, which represents earthly things, a lot of times money and career, what we do, behaviors even. The earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, and it's more specifically tied to Venus in Virgo. Venus is about beauty and harmony. Virgo is dedication and can be a little controlling, but this card is like skill and dedication and remembering to enjoy the fruits of your efforts. So the card itself shows a woman in a garden full of vines, of grapes and pentacles, of course. She looks regal and graceful and is actually holding a falcon, which is said to represent her intelligence and her spirituality. It's also kind of important to note that the Nine of Pentacles isn't flashy, really. And it's not at the end of the journey. It's a beautiful representation of hard work paying off. It's not overnight success. Like I said, it's not flashy. It's sustained effort. It's the building of something, which I find really lovely. Like, this card is saying the garden is there. Keep cultivating and being curious and doing your work. There is an audience out there who will love you. And you know that gardens have seasons. Some may be more fruitful. And some people are snowbirds. Like, it's a cycle. When it's tended to, it's sustainable. And I don't know about you, but I'm in it for the long haul. So I hope you've enjoyed this more exploratory episode. I was really intrigued by the workshop and how it was different from what I was expecting, but raised some really interesting thoughts for me about how I think about the meanings we make from our own artistic work and how people perceive us. And as a fan, I'm also really genuinely curious about where the art comes from, but I love that I almost have always felt free to create my own meaning within other people's art as well. It's the way that we make it ours. It's like when you hear the songs that were the soundtrack of your high school years, they take you back. And I love how we have those things generationally and even societally that we can all kind of keep and connect to each other with. So kind of deep thoughts today. I would love to know what you think. And as an aside, I always listen to Counting Crows, August and Everything After in the fall. That is my high school soundtrack and might be one of the ones that make me like the most nostalgic, and I'm into it. Head over to the Made of Dreams podcast and let me know what your most nostalgic album is. I would really love to know. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please consider sharing this episode and leaving a 5-star review. It really means a lot and it helps to expand the reach of the show. I'm going to leave you with a song of mine and I'll be back next week. In the meantime, dream on.
Gonna love, gonna leave. Gonna take you back, honey. Take what you please. And I don't ask for nothing from you. Give what you got. I don't care what you do. And I'm not counting on you, man. I'm counting you out. Don't ask my forgiveness. You don't need it now. I know I'm in more than you. I'm setting you you're chasing